Welcome again. Now we're proceeding to another with Unit 10. We are now going further now to look at these. What is the factors? How do we select the media? How do we evaluate this instruction system design? So basically, this is a continuation of the previous unit, but our emphasis will be looking at the issues to do with the factors. Okay, and then we'll go further to look at how do you select the media and evaluate. So we are saying this, what are the objectives? We are saying here, you need to understand the roles of the methods, the media, time, and then evaluation. And also be able to discuss factors in the selection of the media, the methods, and the evaluation strategies. So let's look at the factor of methods. So even in the process of you designing instruction, design or curriculum in education, this question of factor of methods is a key, because we are saying we have a question on how this lesson or topic should be taught. As a lecturer or as a educator, it's very important that you should know how should this lecture be delivered to the learners. So it's one question that one has to ask themselves, reflecting on some of the appropriate methods for teaching. So as you are reflecting different methods, appropriate methods for teaching, you are looking now deeper now to say, how do I deliver it? And it is one thing for a teacher to know what he wants to teach, what is the subject matter that he wants to deliver to the learners, and choose and use the methods that is appropriate. Okay, so methods, basically here we talk about their vehicles. They are the vehicles that we use. Okay, what we are doing here, as I'm delivering this lecture to you, what we are doing here, I'm using this system to deliver information to you as learners. This is an example. Okay, it's a methodology. So when you hear the term methodology, what comes in your mind? Methodology, basically you are talking about the study of methods. Okay, if you are carrying out your research and your research proposal has components, chapter 1, which has got the introduction, chapter 2, literature review, chapter 3, it has a component on methodology. But that is the section where now we are going to discuss the methods you are going to use to carry out your research. You have heard of some of the scientists that we discussed, that they came up with some findings, meaning that there had also some methodology on how they were carrying out that research. So basically, as an educator or as a learner, it's very, very important for you to understand what are the methods that you are going to use. Okay, that is your concern, maybe as you are looking at methods of teaching. So as we go further now to look at what are these methods, then it's important that if you make a wrong choice and use a wrong method, definitely to affect your learning. It means your learners are not going to get the knowledge or the message or the information that you are going to deliver. Okay? So, and this is the primary, concern of the instruction designer. So the one who is designing the instruction system, designer, him with the concern is to make sure that the correct, method is used for instruction. Okay. Once you have a wrong instruction, definitely objectives for the learning will not be achieved. So in that case, we are saying that they must understand what are these methods are. Okay. Some of the methods that people use or teachers use, basically these are classified into two. Okay, we have teacher-centered methods and learner-centered methods. Very, very important under this. When we talk about factor methods, here we are looking at the issue of methodology, studying the methods. What are the methods that the educators are going to use? Are they the right choice of these methods? Because we have to be very, very careful on that one and be able to understand that this method, I've chosen it and it's the right method for me to use. So there are two in the teaching and learning process. One is a teacher-centered method. This is where the teacher leads, the delivery of the lessons, and then learner-centered methods. So let's look at the difference between the two. So we are saying some of the teacher learning methods include a lecture. Like here, I'm delivering a lecture. It's an example of the teacher-centered method, because I'm the one delivering the lecture to you, and you are able to understand the information. Then you are saying this is an example of the teacher-centered method. A lecture, can be you are demonstrating certain, subject or practical to students or to learners. You must demonstrate by doing it. For example, lab test could be an example. There could be structured discussion. This is where now a teacher will have structured discussion with the learners. So all these are teacher-centered examples of this method. So those that fall under the learner-centered method, these include role play. You have seen students in the schools now, they carry out some role plays, games, they play around, but they have a meaning on the subject matter, okay? There's a subject matter related to the role play, okay? There are games, okay? There are programmed, information or instructions, which can be electronic, okay? And structured discussion where it's not even structured, but you can meet a student or your learners at your own time, okay? Micro teaching here we're saying micro is small teaching, so meaning that process where you are teaching maybe one candidate, or you are not teaching at a broader level, but it's at the individual level, so among others. So the choice of which method used by the teacher depends on the number of factors. What are these factors? Okay. What are these factors that the choice of these methods depends on? One is the task itself. We talked about the task. Okay, the task. What is the task? What magnitude is the size of this task? We have the learner and we have our objectives. Okay, so in that case, you have the choice of this. He looks at other factors such as task, the learner, the objectives, and also we have the resources that are available. Okay, for us to choose a certain method, for example, if you have to choose a teacher-centered method, a lecture, what are the resources that I will need for me to carry out the task? How many learners am I going to target? And what is my objective? How much resources do I need? Resources here could mean physical or monetary resources. Physical could be equipments like cameras, videos, and everything like that, laptops, and so on. And then monetary resources, in this case now we are talking about money. How much money are we going to put in terms of acquiring equipment and so on? Cost, is it expensive or cheap? And the size of the audience. What is the size of the audience that you are targeting? Yeah. So all those factors, if you could put them, then you should be able to make a right decision for you to choose the method that you are going to use. Let's go now further to look at the factors of media selection. Previously we talked about methods. Now let's look at the media selection. How do we select the media? So the teacher, being the designer of the system, okay, he has so many, of course, media where he can select from. Okay, but there are factors, maybe before you select the type of a media, but there are factors that as a teacher or as a learner, you are supposed to understand. What are these factors? We may look at the media. Is this media appropriate? Okay, is it correct that you can use this one? Is it safe? Okay. What is the quality that they are going to produce? So we look at also the quality of that particular media, and then we go look at the quantity. Okay, and the quantity, the ease of use. How do I use this media? Is it user friendly? You remember that some equipment, they are even edited user friendly, meaning that this media that you have selected, it must be user friendly. It must be easy. plug and play those issues. Okay, these are considered in any given place. You have to consider these factors. So for a teacher to consider the time that the lesson will last and be able to determine the quantity of material, so he should be able to, how long is this lecture going to last and how much resources do I need? You must consider also, is this method appropriate? Is this media safe? And what are the strategies on how you're going to select the media? So in this case, now we're going to, there are many media that are there. In that case, we say multimedia, meaning that there are many that are variable, okay? So meaning that there are many varieties, okay, that are variable. And that helps us, for the combination of different family of media, okay? So there are many combinations. You can use a radio plus posters, charts, or you can use objectives plus photographs, or you can use radio, TV, plus video recording. Like what we are doing here is one way of selecting the media, okay? So a teacher must be skillful, okay, for them to execute their activities. It's very, very important for you to understand that you must be skilled. You must have the skill to be able to use the method, the media that you have. So use of variety, it calls for the ability to manage effectively in terms of time. You have to know how much time you may need to spend. Yeah, we'll look at the factor of space. We know very well that each teaching and learning activities normally takes place in the classrooms. So in order for us to really to achieve our desired objectives, that is the learning, then we need to have adequate space for our learners. Okay? The space must be enough for our learners to move around, to interact with fellow learners. And also, even you as the educator or the teacher must be able to, to move around and maybe move inside where they are seated in the desks and whatever. So in that case, we give room for students to have the environment where is conducive and they'll be, have interest in the subject matter, to learn and to have that understanding. So another factor we look at is the factor of time. We are saying that, without time, things may not work well. So time determines how far or at what magnitude are we going to move in terms of our learning programs. So as an instructional system designer, you have the role in trying to, you need to understand the instruction, the period at what time you are supposed to, to deliver your lesson. This looks at maybe the duration of your lesson, the time that is allocated for each, subject matter, and at what time are you going to deliver and what time you are supposed to end. This helps students to really look at issues in depth, and they are very free to interact as if time is known to them, and they utilize the time for us to achieve the objective. Then we go further now to look at the factor of evaluation. And what does the term evaluation mean? When carrying out a certain activity, or when you carry out a certain activity, maybe you have been studying, or maybe the lecturer has been delivering a lecture to you, and then at the end, they need to find out whether you have grasped the subject, or whether you have gotten understanding of what the teacher was talking about. So here we are talking about evaluation. So for the instruction or for the lesson that has been undertaken, then we need to carry out what we call evaluation. Basically, evaluation is an assessment. Okay, it's an assessment for the activity that has been done, and then want to see the outcome We want to see the impact. Okay, so as a educator, using the instruction materials, we evaluate, to see the effectiveness of our teaching. Has it been achieved? At what level have we achieved? Okay, and what is the purpose of this evaluation? Basically, the evaluation is, to spot those weakest points. Okay, we also want to make corrections for those learners maybe that have not even understood the subject, or then we want to know and help them. If they are weak, then they will be able to interact with us as educators to ensure that they have learned what has been intended for them. So basically, it also helps in terms of learners. Yeah, learners also, they need, because some of them, after you have done the evaluation, because you give the feedback to the students. Even when you go there, you teach the students, you give a feedback to them. So meaning that those that were not doing very well, they should be able to improve. Okay, they should be able to improve. You advise. There are those that maybe have been idle or not even studying. At that time, that's when they will pull up their socks now to say, after this evaluation, then we can see that I'm not a good performer. Okay, that is very, very important. So that gives room for self-assessment in terms of the learners, because they will assess themselves. But in this subject, I'm not doing very well. In this subject, maybe I'm doing very well, but to what extent can I improve, and so on. So now we zero in now to say, what are the types of evaluation? There are two types in this course or in this unit. There are two types of evaluation. Okay, we have the formative, evaluation. Okay, this is the evaluation which is continuous, it's systematic, and normally it results into accumulative results. For example, this I can give an example. Continuous. Maybe as you are teaching students or you are delivering your lessons to students, you maybe every week you give them assignments, assessment, you assess your learners on the continuous basis. So in that case now, whatever results you'll be getting, you compile them, they accumulate, and then you compile. And compile, then you should be able even to now look at the trend. You can even draw, as an educator, can even draw now the graph to show the level of performance of various learners. Okay, so that is a formative. Then the summative evaluation, this involves the academic performance of learner that was used or that was engaged during that period. So, of course, you remember, like in the schools now, we find that you have this term system where you have term 1, term 2, and term 3. Okay? Each term, students or learners write maybe tests, end of term test, and then in term 2 again they write end of term test, and then at the end of the final exam. So you see that all the results now from term 1, term 2, they will put them together. Even term 3, they will put them together to make a summation. What is the total for this learner that he has learned during this period? What level is he? At what percentage can we, try to help him? So these, you find that they help in terms. So this summative. Summative means you sum up. Okay, you sum up. Summative means you are summing up. You are adding the results for term 1, term 2, term 3, term 4, whatever. Okay. In university or higher institution of learning, we have semesters. Okay. You can have, of course, semesters is slightly different from term, because semester is for a certain period, let's say 6 months, and then assessment is done within the semester, within the 6 months. Okay, so when you teach the students, you give them assignments, quizzes, okay, tests, and everything like that. Of course, you come up with the CA continuous assessment. You know how much this student is, and then within the semester, you write the examination. So when you go to the second semester, meaning that what you have learned in the first semester does not move into the second semester, because in the first semester there are courses that are specifically for first semester, there are courses specifically for second semester. But certain courses, for example, we find that maybe in the first semester you call it maybe mathematics 1, maybe in the second semester they may call it mathematics 2, but of course in terms of the content it may be different. We find that maybe in mathematics 1 you are talking about foundation mathematics, but maybe in the second semester you might go to mathematics 2. This is where you find different topics, different from the previous semester. So this summative is most applicable to where the terms and so on. So where we are talking about summative means whatever has been done is summed up as to give the final total. But this one, formative, basically we are saying this one is a continuous process where you continue assessing the learners in a systematic way. Okay, and these results, the accumulative, the results will accumulate. So you see that these are the two types of evaluation. So in this lecture, please, I encourage you students to be able to know what is formative evaluation and summative evaluation, the differences. So in concluding this unit, basically, we have tried now to discuss, the design, instructional design, and what are the steps and the components that are considered to be part and parcel of instruction system design. And then we went further now to discuss why evaluation is important. Evaluation is very important to assess our learners whether they've understood the subject or not, and how best now we can help these students in terms of catching up. And then on the side of the learner is able now to pull up the socks. He's able now to try to study hard, engage maybe the teacher, engage other fellow students who understand the subject, then they can help each other. So that is what evaluation is all about. And then we talked about the two types of evaluation, where we have formative evaluation, what we said that it is a continuous and systematic way of assessing the learners, and the results from this evaluation are accumulative. So we accumulate the results for that particular student. But now the second type of evaluation is a summative. This is where now we sum up the results for the particular period of time. It may not be continuous 1 year, but it may be continuous for a certain period. If it is a semester, it's within. If it's the terms, it's within. So those are the two types of evaluation. And then we talked about the tasks of instruction designer, what they are supposed to do. They should be able to know the factors of methods. What are the methods that they are going to use, to deliver instruction, materials to students. They have to select the media which they have to use for them to achieve their vision. Then space, issues of space also comes in, as all the teaching and learning occurs in classes. So it's imperative that as the teachers or educators or facilitators to ensure that there is adequate space in the classroom or wherever the learners are gathered from. Okay, then we talked about the issue of time, that the time is everything, and we have to ensure that our lessons are timely, are provided with a specific time. And then finally we talked about the evaluation, and which we ended. Okay. So that concludes our Unity 10.